My name is Tyler GIlman, and I've been coming to Mac for about a year with my wife Erin and our 4 children. And Mac is the first church I've ever regularly attended. I was raised in a house where God was not something that we talked about. Faith was not something that we talked about explicitly. In some sense, you can't know what you don't know, but you can feel an absence. And I think throughout life, there were instances where I did certainly feel, if not consciously perceive, the absence of God in my life in a way that would have helped me. Not that God, of course, was completely absent, but I hadn't grown up with the exposure, the information, the tools to really pursue that relationship myself. I was adrift for most of my young adulthood spiritually, and I think a number of things came together through God's will to bring me here and to bring my wife and my family here. Certainly having children. Becoming the father of 4 children and the head of a household was for me a very humbling experience, and one where I explicitly remember thinking, there is no way that I can be the only guide for these other souls that I am now responsible for. And I didn't have a lot of doubt about who or where I needed to turn. It was just a question of overcoming what were some internal barriers for me in what really had been a secular upbringing and lifestyle for nearly 40 years, to get myself to the point where I could get in the doors. And then God kind of takes it from there, really, in a lot of ways. But I think He acts ahead of that. And one of the big things that was a real signal to me, kind of a tap on the shoulder, I think, was that I had my family on a vacation. We were on a long road trip, and we tend to pass the time on those trips with audiobooks. At least the adults do. It's different in the backseat, but I'm a huge professional wrestling fan, which is something I try not to reveal until people know me a little bit, because it's kind of a difficult thing to explain sometimes. But I'm a huge fan, and I was looking for a book about one of my favorite wrestlers, a biography by one of my favorite wrestlers. His name is Shawn Michaels. And I downloaded it, started listening to it, and expecting a career retrospective, wrestling-oriented career biography. And instead it was about his walk toward Christ. It was about his faith journey. I almost turned it off. This isn't what I wanted. This isn't what I was expecting. But that was the point. It wasn't about what I wanted or what I was expecting. It was about what I needed. And for whatever reason, God had a hand in that and put that in front of us, and I kept it going. And for the better part of a weekend, my wife and I listened to an old pro wrestler in his gravelly voice explain how he came to a closer relationship with Christ, and then brought that forward and spread it out toward others, and certainly toward me and my family. We got home. The next Sunday we were here at Mac, and we've been here ever since. But until I got here and got through the door and had a chance to let God work on me a little bit, and Lord knows there's still a lot of work to be done, and I'm ready for that, and I'm open to that, and willing to do that work and looking forward to it. But until I let that process begin, I simply would never have been able to know what was waiting for me. As time's gone on, I've found myself asking questions, noticing things that can't quite be explained in a manner that's satisfactory to me. And it can be anything from contemplating the fact that here we are on a perfectly round planet, the perfect distance from the sun, rotating on a perfect cycle to give us our seasons and our days and nights, which biologically we need and respond to. Everything down from there down to being in the physical therapist's office and seeing a diagram. Oh, my shoulder's bothering me. Well, here's a diagram of the shoulder, and pretty soon she's describing 3 or 4 or 5 contingent parts that are all dependent on one another, that perfectly work together to create this functioning joint in this incredibly complex organism that is a human being. And I sit there and I think about that, and I think to myself, there's no way this is an accident. This is every bit a plan, as if you were looking at blueprints that an architect drew. And if you think too long about it, you will come across these questions that don't have answers that can be supplied by the knowledge of man, science, secular explanations. And I think it's the pursuit of those questions that has also contributed to my walk toward Christ, because I don't see any other answer that seems plausible to me, and this one does, and that's why I feel such a pull to explore it as deeply as I can. As human beings, we have a creator, and we have a natural desire to have a relationship with that creator. We have a natural desire. It was built in us to believe in something greater. And the problem is, if you go through life and you don't have exposure to Christ and you are not looking for that relationship, you're going to find something else to fill it, and you're going to cling to and value something else. And that's what those obstacles are, is that clinging to whatever it is that we have put our faith in mistakenly, and letting go of that faith in anything other than our Creator, in Jesus Christ. That to me was the step that I needed to take to get here. When you turn toward Jesus and when you begin to follow His teachings, it's not that everything just suddenly falls into place. That's not how this works. But what happens is God gives you what you need, whether you understand it or not. And over time, as you look toward Him, He changes your heart when it comes to the things that you really don't need. The things that you never needed all along, and maybe thought you did. So that when the time comes that a person actually lets go of some of those things that they've been clinging to in the absence of a relationship with God, they don't even notice the loss. They don't even notice that they're letting go, because they've gained so much more. To me, to be a Christian means to take what I learn as I continue on this path, and I learn more every single day. And I come across things that hit me and strike me at a level of I've had this experience enough times that I don't have a perfect term for it, but it rings true. It hits upon a truth, and it resonates with a truth that I have felt within myself, even though I couldn't articulate it. And as I collect those experiences and those bits of knowledge through prayer, through the Word, through my exposure to other people who are further along in their walk, to be a Christian is to take those experiences, to take that growth, and to live it in a way that is to the glory of God and to the benefit of myself, my family, my community, and hopefully this world. And to continue to do that wherever it takes me, and evolve. Hopefully continue to evolve until I'm no longer here.